Good evening. I'm Dr. Sten Ekberg. Thank you so much for coming here. This is User Manual for Humans Part 2. And we had Part 1 last week. We'll do a little bit of review. We'll do that every time because there's some fundamentals. And if you recognize them, then it's just your opportunity to learn it even better. Some of these basic concepts, such as sympathetic, parasympathetic, which is fight, flight, and feed, breathe. These are so fundamental for your health that I think you should know them to the point where you can teach them to someone else, that you can save their life doing that. And when we talk about, we started talking about stress, and today we'll talk specifically about what is the link between stress and diseases? All the stuff that people complain about and that people suffer from and that people take medication for, how does that actually come about in the body? So, and you can mark off on your little outline there if there's something that you specifically would like to improve, if it's pain, weight, blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, or if there's things that you just want to learn more about. When we talk about health, first we want to find out and define and know that we know what health is. Because most people say, hand raise, how many people want to be healthy? Good. What is health? We want it, but what is it? So, simply put, health is when everything is working the way it's supposed to. And that is completely different from the general opinion that health is simply when you don't have a disease. If you go to the hospital and they say, well, do you feel healthy, whatever, you get a clean bill of health, that just means you don't have a disease, you don't have a symptom. Well, you can have a heart attack tomorrow, but according to their definition, if you don't have a symptom today, you're still healthy. Well, function, which we talk about here, is a much better way of defining health. Health is when everything is working. Another way of saying that is because your brain and nervous system regulates everything about your body and everything about your experience. Another way of expressing health is to say when your nervous system can receive and appropriately process all information in your environment. And that's the key, appropriate. So we'll talk more about that. In order to understand the body, we need to figure out when something isn't working in the body. Would you agree that if you have pain, that there's something that's not working? That if you have a symptom, there's something that's not working? Well, what is it that isn't working? If we think of the body as having 3 levels of function, the lowest level is passive tissue. That's bone, cartilage, fluids, blood, fat tissue. All those tissues, they give the body structure, they provide attachment points, but they don't take any action and they don't make any decisions. They're passive tissue. They're important, but they don't do anything. Next level up is active tissue, and that's muscle. Muscle, which includes your heart and your digestive tract and your blood vessels, they take all the action, they perform all action, but they still don't make any decisions. The next level up is brain and nervous system, that's regulatory tissue. And that's where all the decisions are made. So if we truly understand this hierarchy of passive, active, and regulating tissue, then we understand that the brain and nervous system is where all function is, and it's where all problems are. So if there's something in your body, if you have a symptom, there's something in your brain that isn't working. It's the only place, it's the source of the problem. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Now we know those functions. Now we're going to talk about the autonomic nervous system. So everything in your body that happens without you thinking about it is handled by your autonomic nervous system. And that nervous system has two branches. It's called the sympathetic, which is fight, flight. Sympathetic and stress both starts with an S, so you can help remember. And the other branch is parasympathetic, or feed, breed. One helps your body defend itself. So whenever your body needs additional resources, when it needs to expend energy for physical effort, that's called defense. So if there's a grizzly bear that shows up, then your body wants to be in a state of emergency. You want to allocate resources so that you can defend yourself and save your life. The parasympathetic is about health. It says when the danger is over, when the grizzly bear is gone, now we can allocate resources inwards to digest food and send energy to our immune system and our reproductive systems. What we really have to understand, as you see in the slide, there is a seesaw. There's a balance beam. That means that when one side increases, the other side decreases, always. And this is so key and so fundamental to understand, because if one side is defense and one side is health, that means we can't do both at the same time. Your body is always making a choice between the two. So let's see a show of hands. Between defense or health, which one is more important? Who says defense is more important? And who says health is more important? And how many people are on the fence? All right, we got one of everything. So it's kind of a trick question, because both are absolutely essential, but they're essential at different times. The defense is about surviving this moment. Health is about surviving till next year. So the hierarchy, the priority in the body is defense, sympathetic, always comes first. Always. Because if you don't survive the next few seconds, there's not much point to anything else, right? And it makes a lot of sense. If you're right in the middle of the battle, you don't sit down to have lunch, right? And so the body, that's the body's priority as well. And that's so important to understand, because it means whenever we have a sympathetic response, whenever we have a stress response, we cannot heal at the same time, at least not completely or adequately. So what this means is that there are physiological changes in the body when we switch in the system from one to the other. And we want to start thinking this as resource allocation. How do you allocate resources in the body? What carries the resources in the body? Well, it's the blood, right? Blood carries oxygen and glucose and minerals and nutrients, and it carries the waste products out. That's the transportation system of the body. So just like you're driving your car and you want to speed up, you give the engine more gas.